Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to be doing the part 2 of the petition for alien relative, and I'll be speaking about my journey with my husband and how the whole NVC process went for us. So I posted a part 1 of the I-130 process, so if you haven't checked that video, go ahead and do so. And today I'm going to be talking about the second part of the process, which includes NVC. So I hope this video helps those who are on a similar journey that my husband and I were in, and I just hope that this video gives you guys the information that you guys are looking for. So just gonna go ahead and go right into this video. Okay, so the NVC process is way quicker than the I-130 process, because remember I said the I-130 process, you're looking at a little over a year, about a year for it to be completed and for you to get that approval or denial, but hopefully the approval that you've been waiting for. Now the NVC process, if I recall correctly, they said that I think it can take up to 3 to 6 months, which it took I think about 5 months, 6 months, around that time for everything to go through. So I remember we got the approval. Remember, my husband got the approval in March of 2023, and by August, the very last week of August, my husband was able to enter into the United States. So from March, April, May, June, July, August. So for us, it took about 5 months, which I think is the average. So great news on that in terms of the processing time for NVC. And of course, that only happens if everything goes smoothly and if you get the interview date quickly as well, which I'll speak about later on in this video. So for the NVC process, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up on the screen so you guys could go ahead and see for a minute. So when you make the account with NVC, that's pretty much what you're going to be seeing on your screen, on your account login. Now that's pretty much the steps for the NVC process. It's very quick and straightforward, and I'm just going to go over with you guys each and every one of those boxes so that way you know exactly what to expect for those. So the first step is submitting your IV application. I think it's like DS 260, something like that. I'll post it right here. But you're going to fill out this application, and it's just literally gonna ask you for like all your information, your name, your address for your your spouse, where they've worked, all their past employers, I think for the past 5 years, like any little bit of information, they're gonna ask you that. And just a reminder that we didn't have to fill it out because we went through an immigration lawyer. So our lawyer was the one who filled out the information for us. However, he did ask us to, provide him with that information. And again, from what I recall, it was like place of address, mainly, your last places of employment for my husband. Just that bit of information, my husband's parents' name, their day of birth, like stuff like that. So it was nothing out of the norm. It's like just filling out a huge long application and just like answering those questions about your past. After that, after you submit the IV application, you're going to go ahead and submit civil documents. So your civil documents are your marriage certificate, and if either of you guys have been divorced, you're going to go ahead and submit your divorce decree. Now all of this is uploaded to that same website, so the NVC login that you have, that's where you guys are going to upload these documents. And for those who want to know like how do they take a picture of these documents, there's an app called Cam Scanner, which actually like scans documents like as if you were gonna fax them. So instead of having to go scan them on a computer or whatever, you can just do it on the app. I'll just put the app picture here so that way you guys know. And yeah, you'll just take a picture of these documents and then upload it to your NVC page. So after that part, you are going to, the third step is if you are having someone to sponsor you. So it's the affidavit of support and financial evidence. So let's say, for example, that you did not have the income in order to support your spouse, who is the one who's migrating to the United States. So what you'll do is find somebody who is, making a higher income and seeing if they're able to combine their income with yours in order to support your spouse. So what you're going to do is look at the for your sponsor, they have to go by this I can't think of the name right now, but I'm just gonna post it here, and it's gonna show you guys the income requirements for the household and how much that person is expected to make. So for example, let's say that let's say a parent, right? And your parent has their spouse. So if you're looking to, let's say, your mother, your father to sponsor your spouse, it will count as 4 people. So it will count for whoever's living, whoever's living in their household and who they're supporting. So if your parent is supporting their, your other parent, then it'll count as them 2 plus you plus your spouse, so that'll count as 4 people. Or let's say if you have a sibling that they're filing taxes for, like they count as someone that they're supporting, then it'll count as 5 people in their household. So it's going to count as every person that they file for on their taxes, which is in their household. So you have to be aware of that when looking at asking for somebody to help sponsor your spouse and to help you, or not even your spouse, it could be a family member, your child, or whomever, brother, sibling, stuff of that nature. So yeah, that's pretty much that part of the process. You're going to make sure that you could find someone who has those income requirements, and then at that stage you're going to go ahead and upload your tax return, your most recent tax return for that past year, as well as the person who's being a joint sponsor. They're going to go ahead and upload their tax return, and at that part I know that also they're going to have the joint sponsor to go ahead and sign, pretty much stating that they agreed to be a sponsor. So that's how that process goes, which is the third step. And again, that's only if you are in need of somebody to be a joint sponsor for you. And so that's that part. Okay, and so after you go ahead and fill those 3 things out, the next step is, it says in the box, submit all the documents, and then the U.S. Embassy reviews the case. So you submit all those documents, and then afterwards the U.S. NVC people, they're going to go ahead and review it. And on their website, it shows you like the processing time as to when they review documents. If I recall correctly, they're like 2 weeks 2 weeks behind, which isn't bad at all compared to the USCIS. So if you submit your documents, let's say the beginning of December, you should expect a response for them by the middle of December, which is, like I said, a good time frame. And so I remember in the midst of this process, I think it's when doing the IV application, my husband had to go get some passport photos done, which ended up being the photos that was on his green card. So be expected to have have to go get passport photos taken again, because I know we had to do so for the I-130, so expect that again. Also, in that time, you have to do a police report. Now, something that our immigration lawyer did not tell us, he kind of told us like towards the end, right when we were about to submit all these documents, but I feel like this is something that you guys should know from the beginning when you start, doing the IV application. Make sure to check, because for the police report, it's a specific one in your country or like in the area or region where you live, and sometimes they take appointments, and the appointments can be a bit far out. So like if you need an appointment then and there, you have to like wait a month or so. And I remember for my husband, that took time because he was trying to get an appointment, but they didn't have an appointment until like the following month, and that took time. So I would say from the second that you are doing your IV application, look into the police report and make sure that you can have that done, so that way by the time you finish everything and ready to submit, you already have that and you don't have to wait longer to do the police report. So that's something that I would just suggest for you guys. Now, after everything is reviewed, you're going to go ahead and pay the required fees. And again, that is on the NVC page. It'll tell you how much is due. I'll just put it right here from what we had to pay. Also, so after they review it, and then you're going to get a response back from them saying that they have scheduled your interview date. Now, the interview date, it solely depends on where you live. So thankfully, and this is like a testimony of ours, which I'll do another video on. I'm not sure if my video paused, but yes, this is a testimony of us. Our interview date came quick. So I remember we got a response saying that they accepted all our documents and that they were gonna wait, I think, to schedule an interview, and then within a week we got the interview date, which is, that is like ideal for anyone who is going through this process. And so, your interview dates solely depend on the US Embassy in your region. So that is just up in the air. I did read some testimonies, and then also like other persons saying like how long the interview wait was for them. Some say that they waited months for their interview. Some say that they waited, a month for their interview. So it really depends on the country that you live in. So if the country that you live in is like maybe a country that's not like that advanced, or maybe they have like they're kind of slow with like government stuff, then maybe expect for it to take some time. But again, it just solely depends on the US Embassy in your country and how long it's going to take for that interview date. I don't think it should take more than 6 months, but it's just up in the air. And so that's something to know regarding the interview date. Now, finally, after some time, you should receive that you have an interview date. So once you have the interview date, prior to having your interview, I believe 2 weeks before your interview, you have to do your medical exam. So they will go ahead, NVC people will email you and send you information as to where to go to take your medical exam. Something to know about the medical exam is expensive. So you're looking at spending about, I think we spent like almost $400 to $500 US for the medical exam, which was a lot, but expect the medical exam to be a bit costly. In the medical exam, my husband said that they did blood work They did x-rays. They asked him questions about his health. Also, they're gonna check to make sure that you have all the vaccines needed to enter into the US. And I remember my husband, he was from the UK, and he had to get 2 vaccines that he didn't have. And so yeah, so if you don't have, if you're missing vaccines, they'll tell you that you could either get it there or go somewhere else to get the vaccines done. I would recommend just getting it, done there and just getting done with, but of course that ends up being an added cost. So keep that in mind, that you're looking to spend some money when it comes to the medical exam. And so finally, at this point of the process should be your interview date. Now, for the interview date, they're going to send you a list. NVC is going to email you and send you a list of what to bring for your interview day. It's going to be, I believe it was the IV application. I think it was the paper for the medical exam, and if I recall correctly, I think it was a passport photo as well. But again, they're going to email you what to bring, and you're going to make sure you bring those documents to the interview. And I would suggest that wherever your interview is, make sure that you arrive early. So arrive at least 2 hours before your actual interview time, just to be there on time to make sure you don't miss your interview. The interview itself, they have questions on the USCIS website, I believe, or the NVC website, of possible questions that they may ask you. So some of those questions will be, when did you and your spouse meet? What's your spouse's favorite color? What do you, what was the place that you last worked in, how long you were there. The questions that they ask will be based off the questions that you submitted on the IV application. For my husband, they only asked him 2 questions. The interview for him was fairly easy, but again, that was just his experience. So I think the biggest thing is to just, go in. It can be a bit nervous for some people, but try not to be nervous, and just answer truthfully. And so it's just going to be questions that, you should already know, because it's what you filled out in your IV application, and just answer them truthfully. And after that, the actual interview is actually fairly quick. It was quick for my husband, and he said that the guy at the interview kind of like looked at him stern. He was like, oh, what's your kind of like, I think he asked him like, what was my father's name or something like that, and then he kind of like eyed him up and down and gave him like a stern look. But I think they kind of do that just to intimidate you and to see if you guys are actually like saying the truth. But yeah, that's all it is to it. And God willing, your interview gets accepted. I mean, if you did all that and was able to get an interview, then chances are they're gonna approve you, and they'll tell you then and there that you've been approved or not. So just go in with confidence and just answer truthfully, and you will get approved. So at this point in time, I know that they say that they either give you a packet to take to the airport, or they submit it electronically, and that paperwork is like what is shown when you travel to the United States. Now my husband, they sent his electronically, so he didn't have to wait for anything to come in the mail. I'm trying to recall, I think he did have to, no, he didn't have to pick up anything because it was sent electronically. But sometimes I know what I was thinking. So the paperwork that he brought to the interview date, they hold on to it, and then afterwards they send it to somewhere else. And I believe that he had to pick it up at the the mail place, like the post office sort of thing, but it's like a specific post office that works with the US embassies. So you'd have to pick up those documents that you brought from the interview date, and you'd have to pick it up from there. But in terms of like what is shown, like your approval and everything, more than likely they'll send that they'll keep that electronically in the system, so that way when you travel to the airport it's already there. So that was that. And once you get approved, I believe once you receive back those documents that you brought to the interview date, and then that's when you're able to travel. And I believe you have 3 months, I think, or 6 months. I think it's 3 months to enter into the United States after you've been approved. If I'm wrong, I will put it right here just to, correct myself. And so once you have those documents back, you just book a travel date, and you just go ahead and you move to the United States to join your spouse. And so that pretty much, in essence, is the NVC process. Again, it's way quicker than the I-130 process, and for me, I feel like it's a bit more straightforward. It's the NVC process is you actually applying for the green card for your spouse to go ahead and migrate to the United States. So the I-130 process was more like a waiting game, and they didn't really say much information that whole year. I-130, you're just filling out everything, submitting it, so that way you can go ahead and have your interview date. And that is pretty much it. I don't believe I left out anything, but those are just some things those are the things that you had to do to submit everything. And then those other added things like the police certificate, as well as the price for the medical exam, those are some things that to keep in mind financially when doing the NVC process. So yes, that was it. So I hope this video helps you guys, for those who are on the same journey that my husband and I were in. Again, for me, like, the NVC process was way easier than the I-130 process. And yeah, this was pretty much the end of that whole waiting game, waiting for my husband, my spouse, to go ahead and move to the United States. So I hope this video was informative, and I hope that I was able to answer some of the questions that you guys may have in terms of like how this process goes. So again, on average, you're looking at about maybe 6 months or even a little less for that second part of the process to end, and for you and your spouse to go ahead and join together once more, finally. Oh, and then to also add, once your spouse comes to the United States, they will be sending his green card to the address that you listed, whether it was if you're using an immigration lawyer, they're send it to their office, or they're send it to your house. So once they arrive in about a month and a half, I would say, they'll have their green card in the mail along with their social security number. So I hope this answers you guys' questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll go ahead and answer them to the best of my ability. So thank you everyone for watching. I am actually going to make another video soon talking about our journey, but in the sense of like a testimony or testimonies that we've had during the process. And I believe that it was because of God that things just worked out and went by so quickly for us. But I'm going to go ahead and make that other video in the near future. And if you guys would like to watch, please watch and keep an eye out for that. So thank you guys for watching. Again, if you need any more answers, comment below your questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. So God bless you, everyone. Thank you for watching, and be encouraged. Keep the faith, and everything is going to work out for you and your family member, spouse, whoever it is that you are waiting for. So God bless you, everyone. Thank you for watching.